Its energy surrounds us and binds us.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Carbonite Convos. Today's short story is going to be about director Krennic and his final thoughts as he laid at the top of the Citadel Tower on Scarif, looking up at the Death Star. So, although aged 51 at the time of Rogue One, Orson Krennic rose up through the Imperial ranks pretty swiftly, with his final rank being Director of the Imperial Military Department of Advanced Weapons Research, which belonged to the Imperial Intelligence and Imperial Security Bureau. But this isn't a history lesson of Director Krennic, or even about the super weapon he was responsible for developing for the Empire. In some ways, this is a story of the relationship between Krennic and this technological terror, but it's more about his final thoughts on Scarif while looking up like an ant to a boot at the planet-killing machine he had been in charge of for the past 20 years, staring down at him. Director Krennic had been in charge of the development and construction of the Death Star since its initial conception. There were some initial struggles facing the Death Star project, including troubles with labor forces and the actual task of constructing such a giant weapon, but the main issue was discovering how to power such a devastatingly massive weapon. The process of getting the Death Star approved and being able to move forward with the construction of it is a long and complicated story that we just don't have time for in this short story, but you can only imagine how long and how many people it would take to get a project like this off the ground and into development. Fast forward to the events of Rogue One, the Death Star is nearing its final stages of completion, and a cargo pilot by the name of Bodhi Rook exposes the plan with the help of your lead scientist, Galen Erso. You know, we've all seen the movie, and Director Krennic was on site for the Death Star's first ever test, and he was in complete awe as the holy city below him shrunk to ash in under a minute. Shortly after, Darth Vader then tasks Krennic with assuring the Emperor that the Death Star isn't compromised in any way. We know of the brave rebel squad who risked their lives to go to Scarif, retrieve the Death Star plans, and destroy it, and upon Krennic's arrival on Scarif, we see the rebels make the first move on the landing pads. With Jyn and Cassian then causing a disturbance at the data vault, Krennic, along with 2 Imperial Death Troopers, sped to the vault to confront the rebels. With Cassian being shot down shortly after, and Jyn on her way up to the antenna at the top of the Citadel Tower, Krennic then hustled up to the antenna. Cornering Jyn at the top of the tower, he ends up getting shot down by Cassian, who managed to limp his way up to the top, but Jyn, now with a clear signal to one of the Rebel fleet ships up above, transmits the Death Star plans and completes her and Cassian's mission. Simultaneously, the dreaded planet killer arrives on Scarif. This is where we go into Krennic's head and just try to imagine what he's thinking in his final moments. He spent the past decades of his life working towards the one singular achievement of overseeing the production of the Death Star to provide what the Emperor thinks is peace and justice to the galaxy. This would have been his crowning achievement, but while looking up at his creation miles above him, he realizes the heartbreaking truth that throughout the lifelong competition with Governor Tarkin, that Tarkin has finally won, and that his own name will most likely be forgotten. Every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears that he poured into this project was now worth everything to the Empire and nothing to himself. He lays there at the top of the Citadel Tower, miles below his own creation, and he watches as 8 blinding laser rays converge at one single point to strike one devastating blow that would destroy everything within hundreds of miles, including himself. Maybe in these final seconds he realized how insignificant he was in the eyes of Tarkin, Vader, Palpatine, and the entire Empire. Maybe in these final seconds he finally realized that he had been on the wrong side. So we hope you enjoyed today's short story about Krennic and his final thoughts. It wasn't too long, but we were watching the movie the other day, and just watching the movie and watching Krennic's reaction as the Death Star is above him and just watching his final seconds, a lot of thoughts came to my head about what would have been in his head at this time, so I just wanted to share my thoughts and opinions on what that story might have looked like. But we appreciate the support, and we look forward to having you back for another short story in a couple days and another full episode later this week. But in the meantime, like always, may the Force be with you.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.